I'm currently making over 20% return on one of my property investments, and in this video I'm going to tell you exactly how I do it. Hey everyone, I'm Johnny Marsden and I've been investing in property for over 10 years. I make these videos so people can learn from me and hopefully take some of the information that I give and apply it themselves. If you haven't got the time or the energy or the knowledge to do it yourself and you want to get involved in property, you can work with me. I'll leave all of my details down below in the description and we can book in a no obligation 20-minute free consultation call and work out if we can work together, take it from there, and fingers crossed we can make some money in property together. I promised you that I'm going to tell you how I make over 20% return on investment through one of my property ventures. This is through a strategy called rent to rent, but in this particular strategy, it's rent to social housing. I've spoken about this in previous videos, the rent to social housing model. Although I've been investing in property for 10 years, it's a model that's only recently come to light for me and something that I've only recently started investing in. Essentially, you have a landlord with a rundown property. You have a social housing provider that is looking for housing to house their vulnerable tenants. Someone else sits in the middle to facilitate the link up between the landlord and the social housing provider. I've essentially invested some money with this middle person so they can facilitate the deal for me. The money that I've invested pays the refurbishment of the house to get it up to standard for the vulnerable tenants, and it also pays the middle person, so the arranger, a fee for their trouble and their time. A big reason why I love this investment so much is mainly because I'm able to give back through property investing. So not only am I earning money myself, but I'm able to help the vulnerable. Additionally, the social housing provider, they are signing a contract with me, or I'm signing a contract with them, where they will lease the property off me for 5 years. So that is 5 years of what they call guaranteed rent, or what I would call very reliable rent. The setup is like this. We have a landlord with a rundown property. They're tired of looking after this property. They're not really benefiting their tenants that much, and they don't want the responsibility of letting that out anymore. The facilitator here has found me as an investor, and I'm happy to come in on this project to invest in this landlord's property and get it up to standard for the social housing provider. I sign a rent-to-rent contract with the landlord saying that I am going to take control of that property for 5 years. I then sign a lease agreement with the social housing provider to say that they can lease that property from me for a total of 5 years at a fixed term per month. This means they essentially see me as the owner of the property because I will be leasing that property for 5 years. In this scenario, they look after all the maintenance. They look after any void periods, etc. If there are voids, it doesn't matter for me because I've signed a contract with the social housing provider for these 5 years. So if it's not tenanted, it doesn't matter because my contract is with the social housing provider and they are responsible for the rent and paying me for those 5 years. And then amongst all of this, you have the facilitator, let's call him the facilitator, a company that has introduced me to this deal and they needed an investor for this deal. They've been paid a fee. For this fee, they help set this all up and they help let out the property to the social housing provider. Now you're going to want to know the numbers, how much I invested and how much I'm going to get back from the social housing provider over those 5 years. I'll get to that closer to the end of the video. I'll release how much I invested, what I get back per year, and how that works out as a percentage figure for return on investment. But it's worth noting, and definitely if you're looking to get into this sort of thing, whether it's rent to rent or rent to social housing, particularly with rent to social housing, there is a period from when you first invest that you have to wait before you get your money. This is because they need to actually refurbish the property so it's up to standard. This can take a little while, like any refurbishment can. They will get their contractors in to get it ready and compliant. Then a building inspector will come over to assess the property. From what I understand, the building inspector can be very stringent, very picky. Some of them have different ideas. So depending on what area you're investing in, one inspector might say that this hasn't been done properly or this sort of light bulb needs to be in, or this sort of light switch needs to be in, this sort of handle on the door is inappropriate, you need to change it. There can be a lot of to and fro throughout the refurbishment period. The work can be finished, but there's likely to be changes. So they give a 3-month grace period from when the investment comes in from me to actually receiving the first payment. Although the refurbishment might take a month or two, that little bit extra of room definitely makes for more reliability and knowing that you're definitely going to get paid at that 3-month date. So far, I've been presented the deal. I've gone through the contracts that I've needed to go through, and I've signed the contracts that I've needed to sign. I've paid my investment so the property can get fixed up, and the facilitator has been paid their fee. And now I've waited 3 months and I've been paid my first chunk of money. Tenants have likely been housed at this point, but as I've said, my contract is with the social housing provider. So whether they've managed to fill it up or not, that for me, in terms of a commercial aspect, isn't a worry because I know I'm getting paid. But I would want people in there. Like I said, half the reason you do this is to actually help out, and you'd like to think the social housing provider is coming through and coming true on their word by getting people into that property. The date that was set for my first payment, I was refreshing my Starling app constantly all morning. It eventually came in, and I'm going to explain to you how much came in, how much it is per month annually, how much it's going to be over the 5-year term, how much I invested, obviously, and how that figure works out as a percentage return on investment figure, or more commonly known as ROI. My initial investment, have you subscribed yet? Oh, you haven't, why not? If you're new here or you've been watching my videos for a little while, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps grow the channel for one, but also with this new social housing investment strategy that I'm pushing, the more people that I can talk to about this, the more people that I can get to invest with me or just make aware of this strategy so they can go and make investments themselves, the better. I'm hoping to grow the channel with this in mind, and the more likes, comments and subscriptions that I get, that will help do it. So don't forget to do that. Definitely comment, because I like answering questions. I've learned a lot myself over the past couple of weeks and months, and hopefully I've given some value back to you guys too. Definitely hit the bell notification as well, so I'll pop straight into your inbox. Let's get back into the video. It was £24,600. My first monthly payment, and the monthly payments that I'll be getting over 5 years, is £915. Over 5 years, that's 54,900 quid. Take off my initial investment, the profit of that is £30,300 over the 5 years. Annually, that works out at £6,060, so £6,060 net profit per year. And then to look at that as a return on investment figure, you need to take the annual figure of £6,060, divide it by the initial investment of 24,600 and times it by 100. And in this case, it means I'm making 24.6% return on investment per year. For me, it's such a great investment. The numbers are awesome. You're able to give back. It's signed up on a lease for 5 years, so you know that's pretty reliable rent rather than having to renew an AST all the time. Yes, I don't own the property, but I'm looking into getting into the ownership of these properties straight to the social housing provider, rather than use the system that I explained at the start of the video with the facilitator, the tired landlord, the social housing provider, and me as the investor on top. I don't have to worry about maintenance, and I don't have to worry about void periods. To be honest, since I made this investment, I've not worried about a bloody thing. It's just come into my bank account. I've barely heard from anyone, but all for good reason. I'm able to contact the company that I use to facilitate all this whenever I like, and I did so closer to the start of the investment, but now I've seen the money come in, I've not really got much to ask them about, unless it's another deal that I want to look at. But before I do that, I'm working on how to become the landlord, find properties myself that are run down, actually buy them rather than rent them out, and go direct to these social housing providers. I'm confident that my 10 years of experience in lots of other different strategies will really help me in finding the properties. First of all, that's something that I'm very good at, and also connecting and nurturing relationships with these social housing providers. I've spoken to people within my network, and they have said that some of these social housing providers differ. Some are very commercially driven and are really only in it for the money, and that tends to mean that the care they provide is not as good. So I want to steer clear of that sort of provider. On the opposite side, there are providers that aren't so commercially driven, but are really stringent on how they look after their tenants, basically. One great story that one of my mentors told me recently is that the social housing provider that she works with actually every Christmas go to the properties that they have their tenants in, and they give a present to each of the children should the families have children. So they've actually got something to open up on Christmas, which is a really lovely thing. Although you can make great money on this and the returns are great, you have to still bear in mind that you are doing this for the greater good as well. You are doing this to help other people. Pick the social housing provider properly, like I'm going to be doing, or work with a company that help facilitate it. If you're looking to get into this sort of environment and you want to do rent to social housing, or maybe more like me, you're looking to be the landlord and go straight to the social housing provider, but you don't have the facilities, time, etc. to do it, like I said, I'll leave my details below. I'm going to be doing this full time now, as well as a few other strategies for my own personal portfolio. This social housing strategy and rent to social housing strategy is going to be my main focus in 2023 and 2024. I'd love to find more investment for these sorts of properties, and I would love to help more vulnerable people. If it's something you are interested in, please get in touch, see what we can do together, and hopefully we can help people and make some money in property together too. Right, that's it for another video. I hope you got loads and loads of value. Hopefully you understand a little bit more about rent to social housing and the social housing model in general. You should definitely have an idea of the sort of money you can make in this type of investment, and you should definitely have a clearer vision of this social housing provider you should work with and the type of people you should be working with to make sure the tenants on the other end are getting a good house and a good environment to live in. If you enjoy my videos, please don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. If you are interested in these sorts of developments and these sorts of investments, make sure you get in touch with me. We should be able to sort something out to see if we can work together, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video.